Any other questions?
I also would like to comment on GO. My name is Larry Smith. And the question I have is, when it comes to educating the team that you have, I think that's with training them and getting them to learn a trade, but are you guys working with anyone like a technical school or a college to help those guys? Because, I mean, it's good to learn a trade, but we also want to make sure they can read and write and move around in the community where they now understand it's a whole development process, education as well.
Yeah, that support system is crucial. I mean, if we don't really try to get them to believe in themselves and their ability, because these are some young boys who may have dropped out in elementary school and stuff like that. And we have a guy who went through our program who dropped out when he was in elementary school and still went through our program, and we just try to connect him with as many supports through the technical AB tag. We got him a tutor. We stayed on him. It takes almost like a village to raise a child. That's what it is, and that's what we try to do. And now this guy, he's still working on his GED, but he's now working with a solar company. He's getting paid a living wage. Still has that goal in mind. And he's an example to other young boys in his community of what can be done, what's possible. Even though you have all these barriers and all these things against you, this is still possible. So yeah, that's crucial. And what we have to do now is the mental health. You know what I mean? That part is now we try to bring on and try to address, because that's a big thing that we come to find out with everybody we're dealing with. And how do we talk about being a father and a mother? I mean, it's real intense, and this is a real hustle here.
Just to add one thing to that, in some of the communities where we're working, we have a community college that we partner with, but a lot of the folks in those neighborhoods don't want to go up to the community college. And I don't know if it's just where we are, or if this is common, in places where we all live. But there's a pretty fundamental lack of trust there. They just don't want to be over there. And so what we've started doing is actually having the community college come to us. And right now we're headquartered in an underutilized city recreation center. It's an old school. It's actually the same neighborhood where it's a historically black neighborhood. It's the same neighborhood where the technical community college is. So we're having classes that are being taught at our own school on our own site. We're finding that to be really effective. And so by the same token, we're starting to bring in some of these other social support services under the same roof. So if they can kind of connect to us in our facility there, then it can be a resource for all these other agencies that are trying to work, and support the same individuals.
And it's also an area that's becoming gentrified. So we really trying to, get the community conscious about, hey, we need to do this. We need to improve ourselves and then tie ourselves into the larger city plan of making the greenways and the bicycle paths and the new sidewalks. There's a lot of work going on. So how do we make sure that this community is going to be a part of? We have to have a middle organization to help be a bridge, because the bridge has been destroyed over the past. So how do we be a bridge to the city and those communities? And
Dan, you mentioned that you now have a staff of 12. How do you pay that? Where's the money come to pay that?
I'd say about 90%, not so much now, maybe about 75% of our funding comes from grants. The Housing Authority contract was a pretty significant one. We've been lucky. We've really only been established as a nonprofit for less than a year. We worked with other nonprofits as fiscal agents. But we've been lucky because what we've been able to do is get contracts from other nonprofits who have federal grants to do our training and placement services. So we haven't had to shoulder sort of the administrative responsibilities of those grants entirely, but we've been able to benefit from a lot of that funding. So we get a lot of community development funding, CDBG grants. We've got a Department of Labor grant that comes through another organization. We get a lot in this business revenue through the Housing Authority project and other private projects. Some foundation grants, but mostly, you know, our biggest challenge right now with funding is not so much the money, it's the cash, because so much of our money comes from, you know, these large reimbursable grants and contracts.
So you have to put the money up front first?
Yeah, exactly. You got to spend it in order to get it back.
And one other question, Dwayne, you talked about relationship and how to help the young people that you're working with. Do you have someone on staff? I think I heard you say something about some kind of support system for them. Is there a professional that helps them work through their issues? A therapist?
Yes, at first we thought we could refer out. That didn't work. So we had to now bring somebody on staff, and that's what we're in the process of doing now. For support groups for guys who return home from prison, we're going to have support groups for them, mental health advisor, and sort of like a community organizer, because we try to make a connection with individual responsibility and community responsibility, and then the greater earth responsibility that we all play a part in. So how we build that capacity in the young people we try to serve, and adults. So we started off with that 16 to 24. Now we're working on, you know, everybody now, from middle school to high school, youth, on up.
Yes,
just quickly, dealing, this was Judy, dealing with your programs, we have, I think, a fairly significant volunteer program effort happening in Bankston and Henderson. And you have the particular materials, information we can get to basically train a group of people in our area so that we in turn can train others on these things.
We aspire to be able to do that. With the limited resources we have right now, one of the things that we're trying to do is find funding that will allow us to answer the many requests we have from other communities to help them do what you just said. And we're building the capacity to do that, but we're lacking funds for doing that. But we're about 6 months and $100,000 away from being able to do that. So that's kind of where we are. And I want to be in your community soon.
Any more questions? We'll go ahead and close. And I'd like to just thank our panelists again and everyone that's doing this. So again, just to reiterate, you know, it's a lot going on in our economy, but there's definitely a lot of opportunity, particularly with this green movement. So again, we'll continue to bring information before you. If you think of additional questions, please feel free to email us. And that's all. Thank you again.